Before I get off this stage and finish talking for today, I just want to say that we are doing something a little special today. A year ago when I landed here, and then about mid-year when Jake had landed here, we took a time to interview them so that you can get to know them, not simply get to know us from the sermons we preach or the songs we sing, just so that you can know the people behind Parkway. So today, John Stacy is going to do his third installment of the series with Pastor Kat, so you can get to know Pastor Kat and the work that she does and where she's been and what she's working on now and where she sees Parkway going in the year ahead and beyond. So please welcome John and Pastor Kat as we do another Fireside Chat today. Welcome.
All right. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate that. How about those Texans? One more time. You can't be outdone by the 9 o'clock service. How about those Texans? How about C.J. Stroud? Rookie season, right? So the Texans have C.J. Stroud. One more time. C.J. Stroud breaking records. Parkway has Kat, who is also in her rookie season with us as an associate pastor. And she's busting all kinds of records too. So the Texans have C.J., Parkway has Kat. So let's give it up for Kat. Kat, we talked about this. You were still pregnant. Mm-hmm. Probably a year ago.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh my gosh, no, I can't do this until after Kaya's born. And so here we are. Did that go by quick?
It did go by pretty quick, yes. And yeah, I think I preached my last sermon before Kaya was born, and you said, we should do this. I did it with Justin and Jake, and we should do it with you and let the congregation get to know you better. And I said, I'm too pregnant for this, which some of you will understand. That last sermon I did, I was out of breath. And I told Justin that Monday, I was like, I think that's going to have to be the last one until Kaya is born. So here we are, though. But yeah, it went by pretty fast.
It did go by quick.
She's 7 months old. It's very crazy to me.
Wow,
yeah.
That is crazy. Well, let's talk about you for a little bit here, okay? You good?
Yeah.
You were born just south of here, down in a little town called Victoria, mm-hmm. who understand there's a famous Mexican food restaurant there. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I was born in Victoria. My parents went to U of H Victoria. My dad owned a business in Victoria. He owns it here now. And we moved to Sugar Land when I was about 4 years old. My mom worked for Target, and she was responsible for opening new stores and remodeling stores and all sorts of fancy things for Target. So she opened the Sugar Land Target when I was about 4 years old, and we have been in this area since. Yeah.
Did you live here in New Territory, or?
We lived in Sugar Land area in First Colony for quite a bit of time until a little after my brother was born. We moved to New Territory. On the other side, I went to Brazos Bend Elementary. I went to Sartarsha. I went to Travis High School, which is right around here. And now my parents live out near Brazos Town Center, and I have been in the area mostly. My husband and I we lived in Tomball and Magnolia for a few years when I was a pastor in Tomball there. But other than that, we've been in this area.
Been in the area. Yeah, we're going to come back to Travis High School in a little bit. We'll connect the dots there now, though. So you were 10 years old when you first came to Parkway. You came here with your sister and your grandmother.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, we went to church when I was in Victoria, and when we moved here, we prayed every night before bed and believed in Jesus and God. But my grandmother thought that we needed to learn more, so she came to our house in New Territory for, I want to say, about 6 weeks, and taught my sister and I just like the basics of the faith. She taught us the Lord's Prayer, the Apostles' Creed. She taught us the go-to children's Bible stories. And then she decided that we as a family should go to church. So my cousin, Jathan Gupton, went here with his mom, which some of you may remember him. He was very involved in the worship stuff. He was our worship leader's assistant at one point. Super cool. He's now living in Florida and is a worship leader there, which is so awesome to see his ministry there. So we came here off of that good recommendation, and what stuck with my grandmother is it was a communion Sunday, and she, being Catholic, heard the spiel about how the communion table is open to anyone, as long as you believe in Jesus and seek to have a relationship with him. And she thought that concept was really cool for us as kids, to be welcomed to church that way. So we kept coming, and we went to the children's Sunday school. We came to service a few times. Paul Kleins was the pastor at that time. And then shortly after, my mom, younger brother, and my dad joined us here.
So the communion table is what got you the
I think, yeah, she had told me a few years past that's what she remembered and why she felt very comfortable, and we didn't try other churches because of that.
Yeah, we all know if you're Catholic, you can't take communion. You get your hand slapped. I have a story about that, but I won't digress with that story right
She
now.
was Catholic, and she did not choose to take communion, but she appreciated the fact that it was an open table, and she could have taken it.
Did you have a church background before your grandmother brought you here?
So we went to church as little kids in Victoria, but then between that stint, we were, as all young families are, very involved in all the kids' activities. I figure skated, my sister danced, so we did not have a church home for a time period, but we're still active in our faith at home, I would say. Yeah.
So you're 10 years old.
Yep.
You're here at Parkway. Something must have felt comfortable to you. Something, someone, something, you kept coming back. Did your grandmother keep coming back as well? Or?
She came for...
Because you're 10, right? You can't drive.
I was 10. I could not drive, no. She came for a time period there, but then my mom and dad brought me. So we came with them. And then I would even want to come to both services. So Jody Yersak is a member here, and her daughter is the same age as me and lived near us. So she'd pick me up for the early service, and then my mom and family would come at the late service, and I'd go home with them. So
And so what you didn't just mention is that there was a midweek event.
Oh, yes.
And I sometimes wonder if that's why you kept coming back. It
The pizza
involved
and
pizza and dodgeball. Years ago, there were, on Wednesday evenings from Sartartia, it really looked like just a bunch of ants. No disrespect to ant lovers here, but it looked like a lot of ants walking from Sartartia over to here for these Wednesday night events, which had pizza and dodgeball. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I definitely, and I told you, why did I come back on the Wednesdays for sure? It was for the pizza and dodgeball, 100%. And the fact that all my friends were going, there was probably 100 of us, your son being one of them, that would walk over from Sartartia Middle School, which is maybe a mile down this way. And we would stop at the Kroger and kind of bombard the businesses, which I think they had a love-hate relationship with us because we kept Nestle Toll House in business for a while there, but we were a lot of kids walking into Starbucks and Nestle Toll House. And then we'd make our way to Parkway and do pizza and dodgeball and a Bible study. There was one. But it was a blast to be with my friends here and to get the pizza and to play the dodgeball and to play the arcade games and such. So that's what first got me to keep coming.
The pizza and the dodgeball. I love it. I love it. Did you ever get hit with the dodgeball?
Oh, certainly so. Yes.
Would you get
in
angry
the nose.
about that?
Would I what?
Get angry about that?
No, I don't think so. It was usually from the older boys, and I was like, well, your aim's not good enough then. And they did not like that. So me calling them out. But I don't think I got angry.
You didn't get angry like that. Have you ever been angry on a bus?
Oh, Lordy. So John and I met before this to just kind of get material, I guess. And he surprised me with some of the things I said you could talk about this, but my husband, Andrew, is not a very opinionated person, but he was like, I'm going to tell John about this story because he has to talk about it. And I said, what point does this story serve? Why does the congregation need to know this? So what they are referring to is in middle school in 7th grade, I was in a fight on the bus with a boy who called me a not very nice name, so I beat him up, and I'm not proud of it, a little bit, but it was a whole ordeal. I actually got suspended from school for 3 days. My parents were not the happiest. I had to take a class of consequences class at the local court because it was that intense. The lady did tell me I was reading my summer book before the class started, and she said, I think you were the only person who has ever brought schoolwork to this. So I was a little better than those hooligans, but I did get in that fight. And I asked Andrew, I said, what purpose does this serve for the congregation to know about? Like, that's in my past. And he said that anybody can be redeemed and that Jesus loves everyone. So, yes, that did happen in my lifetime.
And so you're undefeated in boxing, right?
You're
You're
could say
undefeated.
that, yeah.
You're 1-0. Have you
What's-
recently taken boxing classes?
I did. I actually did take one. A little boxing center opened in Sugar Land recently, and I was trying, after having my daughter, trying to find something just for me and just for something for me to enjoy. So I thought it would be fun to take a boxing class. So I did like one of their little free classes before they did their grand opening, and it was good. Not for me. So I am looking for a hobby still, but it was enjoyable for a once in a lifetime
Well,
thing.
quit while you're ahead. Undefeated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. All kidding aside, you've been here for so long. I've known you since you were a little girl, which is kind of cool to be up here doing this with you. You referenced earlier, you went to school with Ryan, our youngest son. But there was someone here at Parkway that really had an impact on your life, whether it was with their words or their actions, and made you start wondering if this could be a calling. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I was very involved in student ministries with my friends and such, but I think what I was most involved with at Parkway during my teenage years was the children's ministry, which sounds weird because as a teenager, why would I be involved in the children's ministry? But we had a program that ran where the teenagers, the high school students, and college students would run like I always kind of described it as like a summer-long VBS program, and we still have the Kids Adventures today. And Valerie Throgmorton was the children's director during that time, and was a huge staple to my faith developing and me figuring out my call. I mean, just so nurturing of my volunteering here at Parkway, my employment here at Parkway. I ended up running that intern program towards the end of my high school years and becoming Valerie's assistant. And I mean, I owe to staying at Parkway, to nurturing my call, to the faith knowledge that I have now. Definitely a lot of it is owed to Valerie.
Yeah. I know Valerie's out there. I saw her walk in, but I can't see. There she is. There she is. Well, we thank you, Valerie, very much so. So that was someone that influenced your path. You had an epiphany at one point. An event happened that really kind of woke you up. Talk about that, but talk about what you were doing before that.
Yeah.
Because you kind of changed lanes.
I did
that you were going to go
change
down.
major lanes, I think. I was enrolled at U of H and my major was mechanical engineering, which I loved greatly. I enjoyed all those classes. Calculus and physics is my jam. I loved learning about MATLAB, which if you're an engineer, you may know what that is. I loved like trying to figure it out and learning all the tools in it. And I actually wanted to be a high school calculus teacher, but decided to try something else and enjoyed that greatly. But then in the second semester of my freshman year, I was in an elevator accident where the elevator dropped a story and a half, and I held on to the railing, and what ended up happening was my bicep tore, and then I had nerve damage in my neck. And I couldn't lift a 1-pound weight, and I was in pretty severe pain for months and months to come. And still am today. So if you are in an elevator accident, do not hold on to the railing. People told me that I should have just like braced. I hope you're not in an elevator accident, so you don't even have to do that. But if you are, that's what to do. So during that time, I had to take incompletes for my classes. I couldn't finish them. I couldn't enroll even in the next fall semester because my arm was still too weak to write or type or do things for class. So what I filled my time with was being here at Parkway and working through the children's ministry program. And I realized that I really enjoyed it. I could do it because I didn't have to lift heavy things or do anything, which after the 9 a.m. service, my brother did remind me that I didn't have to lift the heavy things because he lifted them for me. He remembers that point very clearly, which he was wonderful. I mean, he had alarms on his phone of what time to give me my medicine, like right after the accident, because he was home with me a lot. And I've given a sermon of like how caring he was in that moment. So he got to do that for me, which was nice. But yeah, he's great. But so I got to work for the church, and I realized this is maybe something I like to do. And I felt the need to keep being here. And I went to enroll in my mechanical engineering classes in the next spring semester, and was like, I don't think this is where I'm supposed to be or what I'm supposed to be doing. So I reached out to Matt Neely, who was our senior pastor at the time, and he said I was anticipating this and could sense that this was happening. So he sent me to Candidacy Summit, which is where a program in our conference where you kind of discern this call and see what exactly, if you're called to be an elder, as Justin is, or a deacon, or a local licensed pastor, which is what I currently am. And I went to that and thought, okay, I think this is what God is calling me to do. And spoke to previous pastors here about it and really tried to discern that call, and then changed my major at U of H to business management, because in seminary they do not teach you accounting or finance or management or MIS classes. And I thought those would be great skills to have working for a church, because we are a business also, and I personally love the budget time of the year. That may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I am all for church budgets. So I did that in my undergrad, and now I'm in seminary at SMU. Yep.
Thank you for that. So you mentioned Matt Neely,
Yeah.
and you do something that Matt does every Sunday, and a lot of us probably didn't recognize this until just maybe a week or two ago, and that is you also preach barefoot.
Yes.
Talk about that.
So I've done that. I think I gave my first sermon at Parkway in 2016, and I've done that since then. But the last sermon I preached was in December, and I took my shoes off and preached barefoot, and so many people noticed. And I've done it every single time, but I do it because, and the same reason Matt did, it stuck with me, and he would explain it every once in a while. But I think it's a wonderful spiritual practice to have for myself. And it's a reminder of the scripture in Moses, and from when Moses is walking on holy and on sacred ground. And Matt would remind himself that as he is preaching the holy and sacred moment of preaching, that he is connected to the same way that Moses was to the God that was with Moses. So as soon as I start, I'll unlock my iPad when I begin preaching, and you'll see me slip my shoes off. So I always have to wear shoes that are slippable off, but I will slip them off, and it's a reminder of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and it grounds me to that moment.
But only when you preach. We're not supposed to take our shoes off right now.
No, I do not have my shoes off right now. It is a bit chilly for that, so okay. I'm a little grateful. But yes, when I am preaching, I will slip my shoes off.
So you've just talked about your preaching, but you wear a lot of hats around Parkway.
Yeah.
And I don't think I think it's important for everybody to realize what all Kat does for the church, for all of us, day in and day out. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So one of my largest roles here is operating as the student ministries director. So on Wednesdays and Sundays, you'll see me hanging out with our middle school and high school students. During the fall semester, you'll see that be a really big part of my calendar as I go out to baseball games and football games and soccer games. And I am just waiting for the day that someone is in a spelling bee. Please make it happen. But choir concerts and orchestra and band sorts of events usually fill my calendar pretty much up in the fall. I made Kaya a onesie to a tennis match that said the student's name, biggest fan, and he thought it was amazing. But then what that turned into was every student wanted my daughter to have a homemade onesie. So yesterday I was cleaning out drawers of her clothes and cleaned out probably over 25 onesies of fanned events. So she'll be having those again in the spring. But I do other things. I oversee our facilities, which is a lot. It looks at the AC, to the doors, to scheduling our community groups here, the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and AA and Al-Anon that meet here, scheduling with all of them, working with the day school on the mulch day coming up, and working on any repairs and stuff that are needed. Many of you have volunteered on Sunday mornings to help lock up the church after, and I thank you for that. And then anything else that's needed, I'll help Justin with pastoral care and benevolence cases. I've been working with women's ministry and planning that retreat that's coming up next weekend, which is really exciting. And all sorts of stuff, yeah.
Sorts of stuff. Well, this morning I know you had some HVAC issues you had to deal with.
Yes, it is a bit chilly, and I apologize for that. A couple of our heaters seem to be down, so that's something I'll be looking at this week.
Okay, that's okay. As you look out over 2024, what do you see for Parkway? What if you had, one or two, objectives for the church? What would those be?
I think as we reflect back on my involvement with Parkway and my connection here, I would really hope that people could find that for themselves. That the connection that I found, the friends that were formed. I mean, a month ago, I performed a wedding for 2 of the interns that were a part of this program that I would have probably not met or spoken to still today if not for the relationships that were made at Parkway. I'm still friends with so many of those people. We have game nights and dinner nights out, and I would hope that for everyone here, whether you've been at Parkway since the good old days at Walker Station Elementary, as I hear about them, or if you're here now for the good days that are ahead. I would hope that you would find a connection, whether it be through your grow group, your small group that you're involved in, whether it's starting one and inviting your friends or those that you don't know to it. And it doesn't even have to happen within these walls. It can happen with an 8 a.m. coffee, which you can invite John to and not me to. I will join you around 10 a.m. Please. Or we can do a midnight movie. I am down for that. Or at lunch with another family or dinner at your house. I would just hope that you would look at the people around you, and if you have known them for years, or if you don't know them, to get to know them and to ask what's going on in their life and be the church for each other, as Parkway has been such a wonderful church to me.
So really connecting, you want people to connect a little better. Grow groups doesn't necessarily have to be that formal. It could just be, let's go to lunch, let's go to dinner, let's go to breakfast. And I guess we can give it a little infomercial here. We did not do this the first time, but you can go to the website, and there's ways to get connected on that as well. Okay, super. Well, we wouldn't be complete with this conversation if we didn't talk about you and Andrew and how the two of you met. Let me set this up. It's a cold February night at a baseball game on aluminum bleachers at Travis High School. I told you we'd come back to that. And you're there with friends. Andrew's there with, I'm not sure who, but you didn't know one another.
Yeah.
Somehow you end up sitting next to one another. And the story is?
Yeah, so I only knew Andrew. We went to high school together, but I only knew him as the guy who took my best friend to freshman homecoming. I was like, oh, that's the one that Tori went with. And I went with Tori, my best friend, to this baseball game and sat with more of her group of friends. So we were best friends but had different groups, which was a fun experience. But Andrew ended up sitting next to me, and it was freezing cold, in my opinion. And so I had a blanket, and I had my Letterman on, and I was prepared. And he showed up. He told me he thinks he was wearing shorts. So he was pretty cold, as he said, and asked to share my blanket. So I said, oh yes, of course, it's freezing. You must need to share my blanket. And we texted for a bit after that, and he later asked me to be his girlfriend in the Sonic parking lot, which I said that wasn't good enough. So I said, you have to ask me again. So he showed up to my house with flowers and chocolates and asked me to be his girlfriend, which I said yes then. And years later, I said, if you ask me to marry you in a Sonic parking lot, I will say yes. It's fine now. He asked me in front of the Alamo, but I would have said yes to the Sonic parking lot. But yeah, it's been almost 10 years since that baseball night that he was cold and asked to share my blanket.
Now, you did this in the 9 a.m. service, too. You left out the part where he ghosted you for a period of time.
Yes, John.
So what was that all about?
Yeah, we...
You should maybe ask Andrew, right?
We texted for probably about 2 months, and we would see each other in between classes in the hallways at Travis High School and give me a hug, and we were fine, I thought. And then he just stopped responding to me, and I didn't know what happened. I asked my best friend Tori, and she didn't know what happened. So I started asking a couple of the guys that I was friends with on the football team with him, and they were like, well, Andrew said that this other boy said you were flirting with him. And I was like, oh, no. I'm friends with that guy, but I like you, Andrew. So I think I put a stop to that, and we picked up right where we left off. And then it was a couple months later, he asked me to be his girlfriend. So he did ghost me. He totally left me in the dust for a bit there, but I guess I was a little persistent. And for good, we're here now.
And for us older people, ghosting is...
Oh yes, ghosting means just avoiding, not responding, not texting back. He would not look at me in the hallways if we happened to pass each other. It was quite rude, actually.
Well played, Andrew. Well played. So what's life like with you guys today? You're married, you've got a little girl.
We do have a little girl. We are living our best life. We got to enjoy 3 years of marriage before she was born, in which we lived in Magnolia. We figured out what it meant to be a married couple together, away from our families and just us. And now we have a sleeping 7-month-old little baby over there, and living our best life. I mean, I complained last night a little bit about cleaning, but I would wash all the bottles and do all the laundry and do all the things for that little girl. And Andrew was meant to be a girl dad, I think. He is wrapped around her little finger. I was a little nervous to be a mom, but I think that if anything, if I was meant to do something in this world, it was to be a mom. I have no complaints, no huge struggles, I think. And it's clearly what I was meant to be doing right now. So living our best life.
What do you guys do for fun?
Oh, all sorts of stuff. You asked me this in the 9 a.m. service, and then I was a little caught off guard. So Andrew was like, "We do these things for fun too." But what we do is we do watch TV every night together. I learned that from my parents. They do that very often, and we'll watch a show from start to finish together. And it's a great time for us to relax, but still be with each other and get to laugh over the funny shows and talk about what's going to happen and the more suspenseful shows. So right now we're watching Ted Lasso. So no spoilers, please. It's very good. We like it a lot. He reminded me that we do love to go to arcades and do all the sorts of fun stuff. Dave and Buster's Main Event, that is definitely our jam. I love to play games, and he'll appease me in that. He's not a huge board game person, but he'll do it for me. And then the biggest thing we like to do that he reminded me of is cruise. We are going, I don't even know how many, but we have a cruise February 3rd, and we are taking Kaya with us, which I'm a little nervous about, but I'm feeling better about it after she's gotten older and can do some normal things now and not this fragile little baby. We booked the cruise when she was a month old, and I was like, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we're going to make it work. But we love to cruise. We cruise on Carnival, and we are going on the new ship, the Jubilee. It's actually the cruise that Jakin just came back from, so I'm hopeful to get some tips from him this week. But yeah, we do have fun. Yes.
Cruises are great.
They are.
Well, this has been fun.
Yes.
I think that's all we have here.
Well,
as far as I can tell.
I feel like you've been up here 3 times now asking everyone else the questions, and we should know maybe a little bit about you. So, who are you, John?
You just flipped the script,
I
didn't
did
you?
just flip the script. When did you start coming to Parkway, and who do you come with?
Well, I come with my beautiful wife, Kathy, who I think a lot of you know. I have 3 boys. We come with Sean and his wife Kennedy, newborn baby Raylan, and then Lawson. Y'all probably have seen Lawson running around here. I think one day he may be on this stage as well playing an instrument. But we have been coming to Parkway since really the beginning. You referenced the elementary, the good old days, the elementary school. Boy, that seems like a long time ago, but it also seems like just recently.
Mm-hmm. And then one more question, actually maybe 2. How are you involved in Parkway now? What do you do?
So now I'm on the board. The board used to be made up of about 7 or 8 different committees here at the church, and then I think it was Russell that brought it down to one board. I've literally, only because I've been coming here for so long, have been on every possible board that there could ever be. And so somehow they asked me to come back and be on the board. So I think I have a year left on that. So that's always fun. We have very good spirited conversations in there, all for the good of the church. And then I'm on a committee that you put together, and you asked me to be on, the Lay Teaching Committee. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
LTC, which is helping you as you go through your SMU program, which is really cool to be. And I appreciate you asking me to be on that. It's fun.
I'm glad. And then one more question. This one may throw you for a loop. We talked about maybe one of my not so great moments in middle school. What is a not so great moment for John in middle or high school?
In middle school.
In middle school.
In middle school. Gosh, at the risk of being really vulnerable, in middle school, I didn't like school so much, and so I skipped school quite a bit, and used to play handball back on the back courts. And one day, we were all skipping school, and the police came, and we all tried to run. And I started running through an apartment complex over by Fondren. Now I think it's called middle school, but it was junior high back then. And I was running pretty fast. I ran across the football field. By the way, none of this was scripted. This question just came out of nowhere, but you
I
hit
did
middle
throw you
school.
for a loop.
And I really thought I was outrunning the police officer, but I wasn't. He had something that I could not run, and that was he had walkie-talkies. And so those could run faster. And so they got me. And they put us in the back of the car. Now we're in the back of the car. I don't know how old you are when you're in elementary or middle school. You know, so you're sitting back there like this. And this lady, who's a very good friend of my mom and dad's at the time, she goes, "John, do you want me to call your mother?" And I just kind of looked at her and I said, "Yeah, you're probably going to have to." So, yeah, I've been down to Reasoner in Houston. Through that, they let us go. I did get in trouble at home. There was a lot of ramifications for that. So, yeah, that's my not so proud moment in middle school.
Well, Andrew has good news for you, and that it's that everyone can be redeemed, John.
I know. If my high school friends could see me today sitting up here doing this, they'd be like, "Really? Really? Doing that?"
Well, thank
So,
you for sharing
it's
that.
cool.
And sorry to throw you for a loop, but
No,
I'm glad you did.
that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Hope we are not judging out there. Well, let's bring your family up here.
Yeah. Sleepy girl. She is our little go with the flow baby. We are very lucky with that. Hey. So this is Kaya, and she is 7 months old. Good morning. Say hello. Hi. And then my husband, Andrew, and this is my mom, Tracy, and then my brother, Philip. So they hang out with us and are around us. Hello.
So this is Kat's family. Let me close us in prayer right here. Lord, we just love you. And we thank you for loving us the way you do. We thank you for Kat and her family and just all the contributions that she has made to Parkway over the years. We thank those that have influenced her life and given her direction and triggered some thoughts to her calling of what it is today. And we just thank you for all the people in Parkway that make Parkway what it is today. We touch not only lives inside of these walls, but we also, through various people, touch lives outside of the walls here, out into the streets. And we just ask you if you will come down and just hug on those that are maybe grieving the loss of someone, those that may be struggling financially, relationships, with a job. We ask that you just give them a hope and let them feel that faith and that hope that you give us all. We ask for these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.